Hey Atul,
Hi, Ramya.
how are you?
I'm doing very well. Very good evening to you.
Very good evening to you too. Good to see you after a long time.
Yes, yes, likewise. Very nice to be speaking to you about, career prospects and all the related ideas.
Yes. I always remember that your sessions used to be a huge hit with the kids, right? Whenever you've spoken to our students in the past, like they've just loved it, right? To get
Right,
a perspective on what, lawyers are always seen as older people,
right,
boring people, that kind of a
right,
thing. Right?
right,
See a young lawyer who's closer to them in the age and, is able to relate to their lingo and their language. It's really
right.
nice. Sessions have always been a huge hit every time you've spoken to the kids.
I'm glad. I'm glad to hear that, Ramya. And hopefully we can bust a lot more myths, during the session today, just so that our younger audience can relate more, can have a lot more ideas coming from this session, and maybe it'll spark a lot of ideas within them as well.
Absolutely.
So very very happy to engage with the younger audience because as they're really going to drive the change. Every generation has been driving different changes in different industries. So certainly very happy to engage with.
Great, great. So, welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us on this Saturday evening. You're watching the Career Compass series by Lodestar Career Guidance, where we get a lot of different professionals in exciting different fields to come and talk about their profession, their journey, and also bust a lot of myths and doubts that the students and parents may have about that particular career. So today we are diving into a very, very fascinating field, which is corporate law. Corporate law is a little different. Whenever you think of a lawyer, you generally think of somebody wearing a black coat in a courtroom saying, "Objection, Your Honor," that kind of a thing. So corporate law is a little different. Many corporate lawyers don't even see the inside of courtrooms. They are particularly, like, they are more familiar or working with companies, and their role is very fast paced, very very challenging. They have to come up with new ideas and new strategies. So let's learn all about this role today. So I have here with me our guest for the day. His name is Atul Lakshman. Very warm welcome to Atul. Thank you for joining us today. Atul is a corporate lawyer. So Atul, can you please introduce yourself?
Thank you so much for the context, Ramya. Very good evening to everyone who is tuned in. My name is Atul Lakshman. I'm a corporate lawyer, as Ramya has mentioned. I currently work with Tiliki and Gibbons, an international law firm based in Bangkok. In my role, I handle a lot of private equity, venture capital, and mergers and acquisitions transactions, where I help companies and investors look into the legal aspects of their transactions. So, in essence, I think it would sum up in a very simple way of understanding as to what is a corporate lawyer and what type of work he does. Apart from the M&A, private equity, and venture capital work that I regularly work on, I also do other general corporate matters such as technology, financial technology in different capacities and on different jurisdictions. So happy to be sharing my thoughts and ideas with all of you.
Yeah, some really big words there. Venture capital, investment banking, right? Sounds very official and sounds very serious. So before
Well,
we get, yeah, before we get further, into those, what exactly your role is about, let's rewind a little bit, and maybe you can tell our parents and students, how did you decide to become a lawyer? Can you tell us a little bit more about your journey?
okay. So I think it is very easy for me to say that my hatred towards mathematics was one of the reasons, which is very typical of corporate lawyer. In fact, any lawyer to sort of have that in their heads because many a times this is one of the reasons. I will confess that this is one of the reasons for me as well. But I think what was a bigger reason for me is the ability that the profession gives you to interpret things in favor of your own understanding and your client's situations. So, in a very simple terms, during my school days is when I realized that I wanted to become a lawyer towards the end of ninth and tenth standard. I think diving deep into how you can interpret, how you can challenge constructively an idea is something that really helped me take this career path, because there is no one way to do something. There is no one way to think of an idea. There is no one way to actually interpret what is written. And when I know that there is this flexibility that I can have in my profession to a certain extent, is when I was comfortable with the idea of being a lawyer.
Yeah, did you get into a lot of trouble at school, talking back to your teachers and arguing with them different points of view?
Well, I'll not really say too much on that, but I've had a lot of experiences with generally discussing a lot of various ideas with my faculty members and my friends. And I would say this extends to your social causes and what impacts, let us say, civic life, and very simple things, and very simple things that affect each of us on a daily basis, right? So I've had a lot of these experiences with my teachers, and of course, participating in a lot of extra and co-curricular activities spurred on these things. But I don't think I got into trouble, but I hope none of the teachers had joined, because they might have a different view.
Yeah, right. All right. So, what defining moment, or what is there a moment where, as you went through your journey of becoming a lawyer and working and then getting back to studies, that made you feel, yes, I think I'm in the right place, or I'm in the right role? Was there any such defining moment, or any experience?
Yes. In fact, two humbling experiences that I'd like to share. One is very early on in my law school undergraduate course, especially in the first year. There's a situation where I was naturally into a lot of debating, in different forms of debating in law school. So, in one such debate, we were not expect my team and I were not expected to make it to the finals, because we were in the first year and we were competing with all the seniors in the fifth year who had already studied a lot more subjects than we already had at that point of time. So I think the fact that the judges at that point of time saw that we can punch above our weight is something that really encouraged us to go full throttle in terms of realizing that, okay, we can actually do something in this profession, like small steps, right? Like you take baby steps to build up something, which is of course an ongoing activity, because you learn throughout your life. But I think that debate competition where we emerged winners was one of the my memorable experiences, where I really I realized that there is something in me that I can push towards becoming a lawyer, and this is something that I'm very good at. Having said that, towards the end of my towards the end of my law school journey, and just right after I graduated, I must confess that there have been several times when I've started work when I was a year into work, and a lot of people I worked with, very senior lawyers in Bangalore, have spotted a lot of times when I erred, and that again made me question whether I'm actually doing the right thing. But the fact that there were terrific mentors I benefited from, and the encouragement that they gave me to say that this is also part of your journey, really encourages me even till date.
Yeah, I think many times kids and even adults lose sight of the fact that failure is a part of the journey, right? We are very happy when we win, be it a competition or crack some exam or get a promotion at work. but we forget that failures also teach us as much as maybe what winning does, sometimes even more, right? Because
Absolutely.
when you're winning, you don't really care, you won, right? But when you fail, then you have to go back and sit and think, right? Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. In fact, I can also very safely say that there are a bunch of litigation lawyers who would say that they benefit and they learn more with the failures or probably the cases which they have not, won in favor of their client, as opposed to the other side when they've got favorable orders. So I think all in all, failures are definitely part of our profession, where especially as lawyers, the ultimate delivery of justice or judgments is something that we can't predict, right? So that is ultimately in the hands of the court, which will interpret law. So failure and success are definitely part of the life of a lawyer.
Nice. Okay. So if you could just go back to maybe your student years, what advice would you give your 17-year-old self?
I think one of the best pieces of advice, which was actually given to me by my mother, and I still share this with a lot of young students, is the fact that it is always it's always a good sign or an encouraging sign when you take part in personality development activities. That does not necessarily mean uh, you have to take part in debate competitions. That does not necessarily mean you have to only take part in one type of competition. But anything that challenges your mind and your personality is something very important for students at a nascent stage, because then you will really understand what you don't want and what you want to do. So, as much as realizing what you want to do, it is also realizing that there are certain things that you don't want to do, right? So, I think to realize that through different experiences is something very important. I would definitely tell my 17-year-old self to to dive deep into a lot of these personality development, personality enhancement activities.
Nice. Thank you. That's, I think, very, very pertinent advice. And I think a lot of youngsters will like to hear it from you, right? Given your background and everything. So you're working on the corporate side of law, right? Which is not something a lot of kids are familiar with, right? Like I explained earlier, maybe they think of lawyer as somebody who's an old person going to a court and, or doing arguing the cases and things like that. But can you like break it down? And I know that you said certain things in the beginning about your role. Can you just maybe explain it in a simpler way as to what exactly does a corporate lawyer do?
Certainly, certainly. So, in simple terms, the way a corporate lawyer functions, or the different capacities in which a corporate lawyer functions, is the lawyer works with companies, the lawyer works with chartered accountants, the lawyer works with company secretaries, the lawyer works with investment bankers, the lawyer works with banks. All of these different professionals are people who we interact on a day-to-day basis. So, in another set of simple terms, corporate lawyers don't generally appear before courts, which is what I do. But there are certain corporate lawyers who will be required to also appear before courts, which is a very less number when you look at the entire prism of corporate lawyers. So, the simple way to understand is you work with different professionals on matters that they want help with. Now, if we look at each of them, if a chartered accountant comes to you and tells you that there is some income tax case that they want you to assist with, so you will be involved in looking at what income tax laws are there. Company secretary will come and tell you that please look into our company's legal compliance. Then you will have to look into company law. So similarly, when banks want to lend loans, when they want to when they want to secure mortgages, when they want to in their various business activities, they need some legal help. That is where we come in. Similarly, if some company wants to raise money, right, for its functioning. Now, that is where, as corporate lawyers, we will come and we will tell them that we will help you. We will prepare whatever document you want us to prepare, and then you can raise the money that you're looking to raise. So, I think, in very simple terms, it's these different types of professionals who we really engage with, apart from clients directly, also.
Nice, very nice. So, corporate law is actually evolving very fast. It's one of the fastest growing areas of law, right? How do you see the field changing in the next few years?
So I think you made a good point, Radha, about the pace at which it's changing. In fact, one of the big trends that I have noticed in the last 5, 6 years, ever since I started work, is the pace at which corporate lawyers work. So there is a lot of demand from the client side generally to work faster and to be more efficient. So this might also mean spending more time in office doing a lot of work, and it'll also mean taking the help of artificial intelligence wherever you can, right? So when there is more work and when there is less resources, you take the help of AI to reduce the time that you will take ultimately. So I think these are like the two big factors that are impacting corporate law as a profession. Apart from this, I must also mention that the geopolitical scenarios across the world will also have an impact on what you do. I'll give you a very simple example. Now, if your client, which is a company and has its office in the US, it wants to undertake operations, let us say, in Asia, that company, depending on US laws, depending on Asia's laws, will have to tailor their operations accordingly. Now, that is where geopolitical scenarios will come into the picture, because there are different policies, there are different countries coming out with their own laws. So, because it is ever changing, it will always have an impact on clients in different parts of the world. So I
Yeah,
think this would probably be the three biggest, uh, you know, uh, factors that influence corporate law as a profession itself.
yeah. It sounds like a very work hard, play hard kind of role, right? So you do
Yeah,
work a lot where your working hours are long, but I think I've also heard a lot of rumors about all the big bonuses, and that corporate law is one of the highest paid professions. That's I know for a fact, right? That corporate law is one of the most in demand and highest growing professions in the world right now, like you said, with because of the geopolitical influences and the world itself kind of shrinking, right? Because of the technology and science that has brought it together.
certainly, certainly. In fact, Ramya, there'll be a lot of people who watch Suits, the series
Yeah.
Suits, right? Um, I must confess that I'm one of those few corporate lawyers who has still not watched a lot of Suits,
Oh
but
my
I
God.
but I hear a lot of references from my colleagues, from my friends about this. But I know that they also portray the profession in such a way that it glorifies in one particular way, but it is also equally grueling for people who undertake the profession, that everything is not rosy, which applies to every other profession, right?
Yes,
So,
yes.
but I think in terms of, like you said early in the in the session, that there are a lot of fancy terms that are being used here. So a lot of those things might be relatable to people who watch Suits. So I wouldn't be surprised if someone says I'm inspired by Suits and I want to be a corporate lawyer. I wouldn't
Absolutely.
be surprised at all. So
Absolutely. I was just about to ask you, like, are you more of a Harvey Specter guy or a Mike Ross guy, right?
right.
Especially you don't watch Suits, so like,
Probably
yeah,
I should start watching on the lighter note.
yeah, yeah.
right. Right,
Nice.
right,
So I also just want to delve a bit more into the AI part, right? Because this is something that parents also ask us constantly. As parents, they worry about the future for their children in any particular field, right? So we keep hearing things about how AI is going to take over the world, software development as a role is going to go away, or accounting as a role is going to go away. So parents have this worry in them. Ki, how is AI going to affect this particular role? If my child picks it, will they have a career in it, or will it be a dead end? That kind of a thing. So, can you
right.
tell us a little bit more about how you see it? Is AI like going to take over the profession of law? Are we not going to need lawyers anymore? Can you elaborate a bit on that?
Right, right. Very pertinent point, Ramya. So, in fact, I will begin by saying that AI is very well entrenched in the legal profession.
Already.
It is well entrenched in the, especially in the corporate law category, because a lot of us on a day-to-day basis, we do use artificial intelligence tools to, in our day-to-day activities. So, I would begin by saying that it has made its way in, but I will again say that it is definitely not going to take over, because ultimately we will have to drive the tools, right? Like, we as humans, we as lawyers, we will have to drive the and make use of the tools. Now, to address the concerns about parents, having the fear, especially in the next few years, I would certainly say that the need for a youngster to develop commercial awareness is something that is increasingly important. Now, this commercial awareness is something that AI tools may not be able to, judge or undertake as easily as probably we have, because obviously as humans we have cognitive ability, right? So your cognitive ability, if it is progressing well, it can make a real difference when you actually practice. Now, how do you make that progression is for you to increase your commercial awareness from your 11th, 12th, and through your law school journey as well. And your difference ultimately comes when you actually work. So when you interact with clients, AI tools will not come in the way of you interacting with your clients and telling them what alternatives you can do, what are the different ways in which they can approach, for example, some investment. So that will only come by your commercial awareness. So I think for youngsters, in fact, including me as well, it is increasingly important for us to develop and hone our commercial awareness. So for parents, I think it is important to inculcate that, there is a lot of commercial awareness that needs to be, which will have to be part of their lives in due course. So that will definitely help, young corporate lawyers to stay afloat, to do well in their profession.
Yeah. So, do you have any suggestions for any kind of certifications or camps or stuff like that, extracurriculars that students can take up that will give them an exposure to this field?
Right. So I think in the initial nascent years of schooling or undergraduate degrees, I would certainly suggest the traditional aspects first, which is your personality development activities. It can be your model United Nations, it can be your different types of debating, it can be different types of, writing, judgment writing competitions. So I think all of these things will definitely have some element of commerce, right? It will definitely have some element. Now, again, some people might ask, what is commercial awareness? Because it's so vague, right? For a young student, for aspiring law student, probably you can look at it this way: how does someone make money? How does someone lose money? Right?
Mhm.
Simple ways. But this structure will be so complicated as we go through. But how do you gain? How do you lose? So I think if you, as parents, if there is a culture of, describing these things to young aspiring law students, it's definitely going to help them. Secondly, these personality development tests will certainly help. Third is to, as much as possible, have practical experiences and workshops during your undergraduate studies. And this can be by way of internships. You can intern even in an NGO, but still be commercially aware. It is important to have that awareness in different spectrums. You need not only intern in a law firm. You need not only intern with a litigation lawyer. So when you intern, for you to think as to where money is coming, where is money going, simple terms is, I think, a good beginning point for people to
Yeah.
think about commercial awareness.
I think that's a very, very good point that you raised about commercial awareness. Really, while we study physics, while we study chemistry, while we study math, we are not really taught to think in terms of the commercial awareness that you mentioned, right? A simple thing like going to a shop and buying something, a transaction that happens between a buyer and a seller actually has a lot of depth in it, right? How many of us have encouraged children to look at the restaurant bill, right? That
Absolutely.
gives me a good understanding of how GST is calculated, what kind of taxes are, how the whole system works. The curious kids, it just spurs the kids' curiosity. So
Absolutely.
you made a very, very important point of being commercially aware. So I think we have a question.
Absolutely.
Somebody has asked, you talked a lot about commercial transactions. That does this mean we have to be strong in math?
Okay. So commercial awareness need not directly reflect to mathematical ability, because your commerce related application in your day to day activities might not actually translate to you saying what is the amount that is coming in or going out. It will mean whether financially, holistically, something makes financial sense to the client, right? So you don't have to reduce it to numbers. And again, lawyers are not the best people to reduce it to numbers. There are chartered accountants who will do it wonderfully and much better. But at the same time, when I advise a client to go ahead with the investment, for me, commercial awareness is whether that sector is generally doing well, whether that sector has too many restrictions, whether there are a lot of embargoes, whether there is any benefit that the company will get. So all of this forms part of my commercial awareness to advise my client. So we don't have to be necessarily strong in math to have strong commercial awareness.
So yeah, I think it's not about the numbers, it's about the logic. I think that
Absolutely.
yeah, that's a very good point. All right.
Absolutely.
Okay. So what is one myth about corporate law that you would like to bust today?
So, I mean, I think it has been widely spoken, but it is still something that is very pertinent. Most, in fact, you don't have to be a good speaker to be a good corporate lawyer, right? Because a lot of people think that you need to debate well, you need to speak, you need to be outspoken, you need to be an extrovert. It generally need not follow the same path. And I know so many fantastic lawyers that I've worked with previously, that I still work with. They are not necessarily good at speaking, but their written ability is something that is very appreciable. So I think writing is very, very underrated. It is something that probably every person will have to focus on when you want to even study law. But at the same time, every lawyer need not be a fantastic speaker, but you need to read well, you need to write well. So ultimately, your your skill when it comes to writing something and reading and interpreting that is much more important than speaking. So I would definitely say that you don't have to be a good speaker to be a to be a good lawyer.
I think that's a very, very important point because most children and even parents think that, going to court, arguing forms a big part of the lawyer's work. But, in corporate law, for example, like you said, I think it's more about the reading, it's more about the understanding, it's more about probably the attention to detail, if I can call it that. right? That actually matters a lot in this field, right? So we
Right.
have a question. Will a background in law help if I'm pursuing career in other sectors, for example, media?
Right. Actually, a very good question. And in fact, this is becoming more relevant nowadays. So, a lot of people, a lot of students, when they're studying or at the end of their law degree, they will feel that they're not cut out for law, but they want to do something else. Right. So, your law degree will certainly help you in any other stream that you choose. For example, if you decide to do, let us say, an MBA after law and you want to move towards the business side of organization, if you want to take up, let us say, chartered accountancy, you'll already have a very strong knowledge of the law. So I think knowledge of law is never a waste. It'll definitely come to your help in terms of any other choices that you make, even in terms of media. Like, for example, if you want to, join big media and broadcasting companies, you will have a basic understanding of law, which will definitely help you. So I think it is definitely pertinent. It's going to be relevant for most industries if you have a sound background in law.
So I think there's one more question, Atul. What are the biggest problems and challenges faced by law firms today?
Okay. There are, just like any other industry, there are definitely a lot of challenges that are faced by law firms. I think the first one is definitely the pressure that a lot of corporate lawyers face, especially in their formative years. And when I say formative years, it would be between year one and year five or year six. This is so because a lot of the work actually trickles down mostly to the younger members of a team in a law firm, and there will definitely be a lot of pressure to deliver. But at the same time, I will tell you that that pressure might also translate to your skill development with time, right? So it'll, while it is quite pressurizing at that point of time, it'll definitely do you good, maybe in your next role or maybe a year later. So I would say the pressure of handling time and time management and deliverables is something that is very, very challenging for law firms.
Yeah, really well said. I completely, understand the situation there, right? So
Yeah.
somebody else asked us, what is the best subject combination in plus two for pursuing law?
Right. So generally, when you want to become a corporate lawyer, the best subject combination would be to opt for economics, to opt for business, to opt for accountancy, and to opt for math if there is math, if there is an option to choose math. So I think these options, these subjects will actually give you a good foundation of what it is to study commerce, right? So you don't dive fully into those subjects, but you get a taste of it as to how it is going to be in the near future when you actually study, take up the law school course. So even when you study, even when you go to the undergraduate program, there are a lot of colleges which offer BBA LLB. Right? It's not just BA, BBA LLB. So BBA will mean that you'll again go deep into commerce related subjects. So if you've already studied commerce in plus two, it's definitely going to be a lot easier for you during your degree. And I would personally, recommend our younger students to opt for these subjects in their plus two.
Got it, got it. All right. So finally, one message for parents and students who are looking at law as a career.
I think it is important to make sure that the aspiring law student has diverse experience. And I think, as cliche as it sounds, experiencing different things leading up to your career is very important. One, for your cognitive ability. Second, for just the way you perceive things when you work. So I would say, don't look at it in a straight-jacketed manner. Don't pigeonhole your child's career by saying, if you're doing corporate law, these are the only set of things that you have to do. I would say experiment and learn and be open to diverse experiences during the journey itself. That will really help you.
Right. Thank you so much, Atul. Thank you for joining us today. It was an eye-opening session. I'm sure a lot of parents and students have gotten a lot of inputs from you. Kids have been able to understand a little bit more, about the corporate law as a profession. So, parents, stay tuned with us. We are going to be doing this Career Compass series every weekend. So please stay tuned. Join us for these live sessions where you get to interact with real life professionals and get your questions and doubts cleared. Students, make use of this opportunity. It's not every day that we meet people from these professions. So please join us for the future episodes of Career Compass Live. Thank you everyone for joining and have a great weekend. Thank you,
Thank you
Atul.
so much, Ramya. Thank you so much. Have a
Yeah.
nice evening.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.